Alright guys, if you are here already, I mean still, then you like the course, which is great. Give it a good review. I mean, it's fine. You can, even if you don't like it, give it a good review. Or if you don't like the course, the best thing you can do is just refund and not give it any review. Wow. Or give it a good review and refund. But if you took it from the torrents, I don't know what to tell. So now Shift A again to create something. Go to curve and create a Bezier curve. Nice. So this curve, we will go immediately into edit mode with tab, and then we'll grab our gizmo, which is this, and then move it up, rotate it, move it away. This will be our horns. We have to rotate it probably like this and put it into position, but overall this will be our horns. We will deal with them from the front view. So how to get to the front view? There are a couple of ways. You can press the button above the tab, the tilde button or whatever, press it and then go front, or just press 7 in your numpad keyboard. But I know that some laptops doesn't have numpad keyboard, so this is very comfortable way to do it by pressing the number, the tilde key. I think it's tilde key. Yeah, the key between the tab and 1, and just between escape and tab. So we press it, go front, and then we can move this easily without any interference. So I select a certain point, and then I select the end of it, and I can move it and make something like the concept. Here I can move it also down like this, and it's looking great. We can put more points. Let me show you how. I select both points because there are only 2, and then right click, subdivide, and then we have a point, and we can move it wherever we want. I mean, this point is now our bitch. It's our point. We can put it whatever we want, and it's great. We can move it like this, and we can move it like this. But in order to make sure we are moving it correctly, we can rotate the points like this. It's easy. We are going to go to this object data properties, and then we'll go to geometry, and then under the bevel you just increase the depth like this, and then I will move it up because it needs to be more up, because now I have the thickness and I can see where it's going. Now this thickness is kind of okay for the horns, and the top thickness we can decrease it by pressing S. No, pressing S will scale the handles. We have to press Alt S in order to scale it down, and then we'll press Alt S to scale down the other point. But let's see, this one I will move it down a bit and scale it so the handles are scaled. And now I will put a mirror modifier because I want to see both of them, and when I see both of them I will be able to make comparison with the concept better. So I'll rotate this outward a little bit, and it's looking relatively like the concept, I think, already. But let's Alt S, scale this a little bit more. So we have to be very careful with the scaling here. Why, you will ask? I will scale this up, just S, and then rotate it. Rotate with R. So the problem is that when we're 3D printing this, at some point, let's say, we need to be we need those things to be not so thin. So I will not make them very sharp. I will leave them kind of dull, not very sharp, because I don't want there to be a super tiny thickness which will break very easily. Although those horns will very much break if this falls. Let me press home. So when you are in the front view, I press tilde front, and when you rotate, sometimes your model will just go away. Then you press just home on your keyboard. Most keyboards have home button, so it should be okay. But this looks relatively fine. Maybe at some point we will kind of rotate the horns back, and maybe now it will be the right time. So I'll select all the handles and I move them back like this. Why am I doing this? Because I think it's more dynamic. You know, dynamic is very important thing. Now I press A to select everything and just try to move it where it should be. Now this is not geometry, by the way. These horns are curves. They are curved. And this geometry above the curve is really not existing. We are seeing it, but it doesn't exist. We cannot catch some parts of this geometry. No. It's just for visible properties. If we want to apply it, we have to go to object mode and right click convert to mesh. When we convert it to mesh, it will be a mesh. We can do whatever we want with it. But for now, let's leave it as curves. We don't care. We don't care that it's curves. Now I think we are having a good object here. Until we color it, probably we will not see how it looks, but we can take a little of a sneak peek by putting a shadow, for example. And let's go and just rotate a little bit this light. This is a viewport shading, by the way, it's not render. And we can see something like this. Now we can disable. Yeah, I think it will look pretty good with the body and with the other things, with everything. It will look almost good. I mean, but even now, not everything is written in stone. We can do more things. For example, I can make the head smaller to be the same size as the concept. I will remove the shadow and I will see if it kind of fits the properties. I mean, not the properties, but the proportions. If they're okay. If the helmet is small enough. If this pointed thing is okay. If those horns are big enough. They are not. Obviously, they have to be a little bit thicker, most likely. So I'll press Tab. Go here and Alt S to scale this a little bit to make it thicker. And then probably even get this handle and move it outward with G. Although it's not exactly. This one I will scale down because I want this angle to be better. I'll rotate it a bit and I will move it up. And we have to be careful because now I'm moving up and you know, scaling and stuff. From the side view it's not looking very, very nice. So probably we need some rotation from the side. From the side view. So they are not boring. As I said, boring is not my thing. So now they are a little bit curvy and I like them better. Straight, they could be okay, but I think I like them better not so straight. Now I will put some cylinders here to be this kind of bronze thingies on the side. So let's go to object mode, mesh, cylinder, take the cylinder in tab, S, scale it, put it up, and then put it into position like this. You know, you can do it in some other way. For example, when we make this as an object, as a mesh, the horns I mean, then we can take parts of the horns and make it into this. And we will not have to do so much work. But I think this is a nice way to do it. And putting a nice cylinder, I mean not some distorted cylinder, is a good way to make sure you have a nice forms. But this cylinder needs more work. So I will press 3, which is my polygon selected mode. I will select the top polygon and press I to insert. And then I will move like this. And then I will G move it up. Because I want to have this kind of a, you know, little kind of a taper area there, which is okay. And I think we are basically fine. But this, I will select it again, this top, and I will press I again. Because when I smooth it, I like it to be smooth and not have problems. Here also on the side, I'll press Ctrl R and move this up, put it into position, and Ctrl R again and move this down and put it into position. This way I will make sure that when I smooth, most of the things will be okay. And then I will put a mirror modifier and we're okay. This started to look like the concept, I would say, except for the missing tooth. But as I said, this is not ultra important right now. The most important things we have done, and it's looking relatively fine. So from the side view, let me see how the beard goes. Okay, it goes a little bit here. Mine is going too much upward, So I will select the beard, go to sculpt mode, and I make sure I have the symmetry, and just push the beard down, the bottom part of the beard down, so it covers more area. I don't want the beard also to be super thin. Those things that are going out of the beard here, they will be very much vulnerable part of the 3D print. That's definitely the case. And if you, by mistake, take those parts, just grab the sculpture, grab the 3D print by those parts, you may break them with your fingers, which is never a good thing. It's never a good thing, but yeah. Now the hair. Let's remove the symmetry and start working on the hair. We can use the snake hook here, for example, but I usually use just the move brush. Just the move brush is enough, and I'm moving it. I'm not sure exactly where I will go with this hair, but I will try to achieve something like the concept from the front view. So we need a couple of hairs to go this way, his right, our left, couple of them, so this one like this, and we are rotating, constantly rotating and viewing your model from all sides will make sure that you are not gonna work only from one side, which is obvious, and your model will look good from all sides, not both. That's the problem with the 3D. You don't have one side like the 2D or two sides like something, I don't know. You have a lot of sides of your model. That's why you have to make sure you're rotating constantly and looking from all sides. Now I will just do some pieces of hair. The hair is kind of important, and we need to make sure we are doing it kind of correctly. Here, this portion, I will have to make it different than the other one, because otherwise it will look boring. So I will move this up, push this in, and then I will get from below, I will get one which will be this big one here. Okay, this one will be the top one, this one, and we will have, but they have to be a little bit away from each other, not just in one line, in one plane, let's say. They should be away from each other, because otherwise, you know what's happening. Boring and stuff like this. We have to be careful with boring. Boring is not what we want, as I always say. I always say that, by the way, so it's not a problem. If you don't hear me now, you will hear me later. It's not an issue. So this is part of our hair. Let's say what else is part of our hair. We can have one hair in here, for example. It's not going to be viewed from the front, but it doesn't matter. What matters is we need to have kind of similar, you know, differentiation of the hairs. We need to have the hairs, you know, the side hairs and then the back hairs. And when we rotate, everything to look consistent. Yeah, you don't need it will be kind of stupid or just not very thoughtful to make the side hairs viewed from the front to be fine, but the other hairs on the back to not exist, for example, because this will devalue your sculpt, greatly devalue your sculpt. So you need your sculpt to have value, right? That's why we're doing this. We're doing hairs. I'm just pulling something and then kind of applying some strokes to make sure it fits the overall character. Now these hairs, some of them probably will go inside the body or inside the coat in the back, because the coat also has some hairs in it, so we have to be careful. But for now we are just doing basic things, so we don't care where this will go, how it will fit or whatever. We're just applying some strokes and trying to make it variable, not boring, nice and variable, which will be, I'm sure it's difficult for me, although it may seem very easy, but it's not. It's kind of difficult for me. I usually you know, avoid doing hairs that much. But if you have a nice concept which have hair, you cannot avoid it. It's okay. You have to do it. And then it's kind of fun when you start doing hairs, because they, especially when you don't have a concept for the back of the hair, you can develop your own kind of a style of hair, which is fine. I mean, yeah. And you can watch me doing it. Of course, you can, at some point, you can pause the video and just try to replicate what I'm doing here. As you can see, I'm using only Draw Sharp Brush for strokes, Control Draw Sharp Brush, because in ZBrush Control is like the opposite. So with just Draw Sharp Brush, I'm just drawing strokes. Then I'm digging with the Control, because I clicked up there the plus icon. Otherwise it will be the opposite, but whatever. And then I am moving with the Move brush. I'm just putting some variety. Some of the hairs, I'm putting them out to have more variety. But I will definitely avoid very thin hairs. Like for example here, to make this hair split. It will be fine, by the way, if I make it split. But only that. If I make one thin hair and one thick hair, it will look nice for render and for something. But it will not be very nice for 3D model. For game model, I mean, for if you're making a low poly. And also it will be very bad for sculpting, for 3D printing. Yeah, I forgot what I was about to say. So 3D printing, yeah. It will be bad for 3D printing and for the game model usually. Especially if your game model doesn't have planes, hair planes, which usually we don't have in our games in Gameloft, because it's a mobile game company, and in the mobile games, you know, hair cards, which are the cards you are using for hairs in games, are not used that much. Sometimes we are using them, but very rarely. Usually when we do characters, they are stylized and their hairs is just geometry. And this hair will be geometry if we make it into a, you know, game character. But obviously we will not be able to make it into a game character because it will be too much work, and I usually don't like to make low polys, you know. Yeah, now R, just to squeeze a little bit more polygons, and Control R to apply it, because some of my hairs are starting to get a little bit stretched. So, low poly. Many people are asking how to do low poly for my character. There are a couple of ways, but the best way, in my opinion at least, is to make it by hand with just the tools that are applied, that are available in Blender. And I have a course about that. It's in my YouTube channel. It's absolutely free. You can check it out. It's like 38 videos, I think. Almost 24 hours of content. Everything is real time. I'm talking about it. And I'm, you know, it's you can see the whole process of creating a game character. Which, by the way, now is in an actual game, because it was developed to be in a game. So the character I do in this course in my YouTube channel, Speedchar, is actually inside the game. It was developed with the blessing of Gameloft to put it on my channel, and then they got it, they revamped the textures, they made the textures better, because mine were just the basic textures. They made them better, they rigged it, they animated, and they put it in the game. But the mesh itself is my mesh, which I did live in YouTube. I mean, this is cool. This is pretty cool. I don't think there is any other similar thing in the whole internet. Like a whole real game character, actual game character, commercial game character, made entirely from scratch in YouTube. All in YouTube videos. Yeah, it was a hell of a run last year, because I did it last year, but it was worth it. I think it kind of boosted my channel. People now can easily and absolutely for free see how this is done. And then when they ask me, I say, watch these videos. And it's easier to say it this way instead of explaining how the things are done. Now, we have 10 minutes left into this video. We can go and let me see. Yes, we can go. I will save with Control S, and we can make the body. We can start making the body. I will make it with a sphere again. Then I create the sphere in object mode, because usually we create things in object mode, at least now in this Blender. Then I go to tab, move it down, scale it up, and maybe make it a little bit, you know, a little bit longer in the vertical, and then we are ready for sculpting. We get our symmetry right, and then what we do is just push it forward. We need to push it forward a lot. This character, let me show you. He is bent forward like crazy. If we rotate him, if we imagine rotate him, this belt will be much more forward than his face. Let me draw you a little bit. You maybe not realizing it, but the belt itself, if we go a vertical line through the belt, a vertical line to the belt, like this, you see it will be very further away from his face, this vertical line. And this whole thing will be like forward from the face. So it will be like this. So the belt will be around here. And we'll have the back in here. And he has a pretty thin waist, by the way, which is great. We will do something like this. And he will have a big chest, probably. But everything will be very forward like this. Then the ass. Then the legs, which are very thin legs, by the way. Many people will say again, skip leg day. Will go backwards to compensate for the forward of the waist. And then he will have some, you know, arms like this. Of course, the arms will make them bent. You see, our concept, he's very bent forward, very much. Let me tell you something. Our concept, you see both arms, and both of them are bent to the elbow. Which means that if we want to make our job easy, or easier, we will sculpt them bent into the elbow. We will not sculpt them straight and then bend them. I would do that if one was straight and the other was bent. Yes. But now they are both bent and almost in the same way. So we will just make sure they are all bent. It's okay. Now, let me go back and continue working on this. So we'll have something like this. Thin waist, very thin. Big shoulders. Very wide shoulders, by the way. We'll make them very wide. And we'll see what happens. The beard itself is going inside our chest area now, which I don't care. I mean, I need the body to look like the concept. So we will make a basic of the body and then compare it to the concept, and we'll see how it works. And then we will move the beard most likely. It's not a big issue. The beard is okay. It will be okay. Don't worry about the beard, we may say. Just make this kind of a V shape of the body, very wide shoulders and thinner waist. And then we will make some legs, which kind of will come from here. It's a little bit strange because the legs, the distance between the legs is pretty big, but we'll see how we will handle it. It's not a huge issue. I would like to have legs and arms right away, as fast as possible, to be able to it looks ridiculous, by the way, when you look at it from the side view, but it will work. I promise it will work. Even if it doesn't work, we can fix it. Since I haven't put too much detail right now, but it should be something like this. You see wide shoulders and then your very thin waist. Because the waist will be thinner than it's here, because then when we put our belts on and the shirt and everything, it will be a little bit thicker than this. Of course, if it becomes too thick, we can always shrink this as well. We can always shrink our base, the body, I mean, as well. So it's fine. Now I will press R, and yeah, 0.1 for the body for now, it's very nice. So Control R, by default, 0.9. And I will just smooth in here. And what I will do is I always do the clavicle. So let's do a little bit of a clavicle here. The clavicle is going backwards. It's like an S curve. If you like to know more about anatomy, of course, you can go to my Superhuman Anatomy course. This is a male anatomy course. And if you want to know more about female anatomy, you can go to my female anatomy course. Yeah. By the way, the female anatomy course is probably one of a kind. There are not too many courses, not any courses even, that are focusing on the female body and the differences between male and female body. So now, what I usually do is, let's say, let me draw you a little bit. Let's say, okay, can I have the pen? All right. Now, from the middle here, the clavicle is going back like this. This is your clavicle muscle. Bone. The clavicle bone. The clavicle bone, the other clavicle is going to be here. But this clavicle, so the shoulder muscle will be in here. This is the back shoulder. The side shoulder is more visible here. And the front shoulder will be like this. So it will go a little bit more down. And this is your traps. They are attached here and here and here. Around here they will end. The traps. The traps are very elaborate muscle. You will see they are very big. So from here we can have our chest muscle also going on. And it will go below the shoulder muscle. So the shoulder muscle is the muscle that goes over everything. This is our shoulder muscle. It goes over everything. Then the chest is peaking below it. And the biceps is coming below the chest and the shoulder, because the shoulder is on top of everything. So the biceps will come below it. And we will see the triceps probably from here. We'll see the elbow. And we will do kind of a, bent elbow. Then we have some muscles in here. Overall, good thing. Now, here I don't completely like this arm, how it is. We will try to do it this way. If we don't succeed, we will do it another way. We'll see how it works. Overall, this will be our rib cage. So this is part of the rib cage in the front. The clavicle, okay, the shoulder and the chest muscle. So yeah, this is from this view. Let's see. So the shoulders usually are kind of big. They are muscle. I will inflate them a little bit and then I will move them. If you make the shoulders small, like I did now they are small. They shouldn't be that small. They should be bigger. But I will make them even bigger at some point. Now first I need to apply and see where my chest muscles would be. The chest muscle in our guy doesn't look super developed, but I like to make it anyway, just to have a greater understanding where all the forms go. Because you have chest, then you have the the back muscle which is coming into the armpit, kind of this back muscle. From this muscle, you're having those finger muscles that are coming forward, but they are short because they are coming from below this back muscle. And this back muscle is visible also here in the back. But whatever, we have those. And then we go down from there. And here it's something like a jigsaw thing is going on. And then we have the beginning of the abdominal muscles. The overall abdominal mass of the muscle is kind of round shape. And then we have in the middle, usually you have a kind of a dip in the middle. And then we have 1, 2, 3, and then belly button. So 3 rows of muscles and belly button. And then below it, sometimes below the belly button, sometimes you can have separation here. Usually you don't have. Usually the separation in the middle is until the belly button. Then after that we don't have separation. We don't have you know, packs after the belly button. But in some people, some genetics, you have another row of things here. So you have not a 6-pack. Sometimes you have 10-pack. But usually that's not the case. Usually you have just 6-pack. So if you see people that have 10-pack, don't say that this is AI or this is not true or this is fake or whatever. It could happen. Some people have 10-pack. It doesn't mean that they're stronger or better than us, because I don't have any pack. I have a little kind of a dad bod, a little dad belly. Although, you see, muscular, but here on the belly, a little bit of a, not too much though. I'm not fat in any case. But I'm not super lean. I was lean back in the days, now I'm not that lean. At 40 years old, it's normal to have a little bit more fat than your 30s or your 20s even. And I'm heavier. I'm now 102 kilos. But because I am pretty tall, it's not a problem at all. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm trying to differentiate a little bit the traps from the shoulder. You see how there is a dip between them. So traps and then dip and then shoulder. Okay. And then smooth a little bit. We don't absolutely care about the geometry that much. In this case, we're caring about the forms on the surface. But usually the forms on the surface are, made by the geometry below. Made by the forms below them. Made by the muscles, made by the bones, sometimes. So it's a good thing to make them. So let me show you how the traps work. So the traps are coming there attached to the back. In the back is the scapula. In the scapula in the back, the scapula is this kind of thing here on your back, and it attaches to the scapula. And when the people are muscular, it's kind of a dimple. It's kind of in. If they're not muscular, then you will see the scapula going out if their muscles are flat and thin. But this guy is pretty muscular, so the scapula will be in, and we will not be able to see the scapula itself because it will be covered with muscles, with muscles. And we will continue in the next video. I mean, the back, we absolutely don't need to do this because we have a cape, we have a shirt over it, so yeah, we don't need it. We don't need the back, but I'm doing it just because I like it. I like human anatomy. I like to do muscular men. Yeah, I know it sounds a little bit gay, but it is. So it's okay. Yeah, I have wife and kids, so probably I'm not that gay, but other than that, we have to see you in the next video because I'm starting to talk a lot of things.